All right, so I'm gonna hopefully quickly, run you through how to get impulse responses out of your favorite plugins, guitar cabinet plugins, those kind of things where they use a proprietary format, keep their IRs from being accessed, but at the back end of them, they actually are still impulse responses. Today I'm going to use the Wall of Sound plugin. I've got that queued up right now in Pro Tools. To do this, you're going to need a plugin. You're going to need a DAW environment that has internal routing and things like that. And then the last thing is you're going to need a program to run convolution, deconvolution algorithms. The one I'm using is one I use from work. So it runs in Windows. I'm on a hybrid Mac here. You can do it on probably anything. There are there are Mac versions, there are algorithms. There are tons of different ways to do this, but these are the three kind of pieces you need to make this whole process work really smoothly. So, starting out real quickly, essentially, if you have a device, you run an input signal into it, you get a signal out of it. This whole signal right here can be expressed with an impulse response. Let's move it on me. So all this impulse response is just an expression of what's coming into it, or what kind of transformation is happening within any type of black box. Often in electrical engineering, there's a few different ways of exciting this signal and then comparing the input with the output using a process called deconvolution. You might have heard of convolution before. Deconvolution is just the opposite mathematical process, and that's what these programs are doing for us. So if I have a known input, which will generate, and I have a known output, and the system is what we call linear and time invariant. That's special engineer talk, really. The average guitar player, all you need to know is a speaker is generally a linear time invariant reaction. So going back up here, the first thing we need to do is actually generate an input signal. And so I'm using this program. Let's get rid of, I don't know why Windows just did that. I'm using this program called Voxengo. It's a deconvolver. It will also generate a test tone for you. It's free, sort of. You can buy it to have unlimited use. If you use the free version, it only runs for, I think, 3 times before you have to just close the app and run it again, and you can't do batches. Generally, for the average person, we're probably only going to do 1 or 2 at a time. So it's probably fine. The next thing you want to do is go in here, test tone generator, and you want to pick the stats that you're working in that matches your Pro Tools session or DAW session, whatever. So it's really important. Make sure that your bit depth and sample rate match. You're going to be on mono. And then your duration is also really kind of important, but not really important. Since we're dealing with such short impulse responses, you essentially only need, the longer it runs, theoretically, the better signal to noise ratio you get, but it's not essential. There's also, in Voxengo, there's this option for a fade in, fade out for a reverse integration technique. Your call whether you use the reverse technique. That's a setting you just need to match. Not essential, but I've had my best results with it, so I'm going to actually apply that. This will generate a WAV file. You need to make sure that you save this somewhere. Let's throw it on my desktop, and you'll notice that sweep is very appropriately named. So let's save that there. I now have over here on my desktop this sweep file. I have also, in my DAW session, you'll notice one thing real quick. I have created 2 tracks. Technically, I created 3. You only need 2. One is going to be routed into, let's refocus here. There we go. One is going to be our source signal, so that's going to route into a bus. The other one is going to be your channel with your plugin running on it, and that's going to be running off of bus 1. This allows us just to run the audio signal into this thing and record it. So as I go in, I'm going to go and grab that audio file. You'll see it's a fairly short file. I think this one's only 14 seconds. It's going to be a sine sweep. So it's just going to go from low frequency to high frequency. If we really zoom in on this, you'll see as it goes, that period between these frequencies gets narrower and narrower and narrower. That's what's happening. It's sweeping through low frequency to high frequency. And that's what you just kind of see happening there. So that's going to be your input. As I said, into the bus, into the bus as the output for that channel. Bus 1 is the receiver with your plug-in on it. If I pull up the plug-in, and we bring that back into the screen here. All right, I've got wall of sound open. Again, as I said, this could be a neural. This could be whatever you're using, the PRS waves things, whatever plugin you want to get an IR of. Just make sure that when you're doing the IR, you're not doing anything complicated with it. So you're not adding a ton of reverb. If you want to dial this in probably before you get working on this. So like plug your guitar amp in or whatever, dial in how you want your mics placed and all that kind of stuff. You can run two mics together at the same time. You can theoretically run these separate, whatever you want to do to create your separate impulse responses. For simplicity, I'm going to turn off the equalizer, the exciter, and the compressor. I am going to leave the room reverb on, but as you notice, it's like not that high. And so we got a 57 and a 121 running on this system, and this will create it. Now, then what we're going to do on that receiving track, we're going to arm it. And the last part is we're just going to simply arm it and record. So there you go. Now you'll notice that only ran for the same duration as the source. That's a problem. We actually need a longer file than what was originally run, or this will actually cause a problem. Also, you'll notice it clipped our main input up here. That's because these two signals are doubling up. It did not clip the channel, so we're okay. So I'm actually gonna delete this one again. I'm gonna sit and run. Oop, I'm messing up. I'm just gonna make sure that I don't have a marker set to end. I don't. So this should just run infinitely. But you wanna make sure that I messed that up again. You wanna make sure that you start at the same point. I also have my latency on as low as possible right now, so to avoid any extra latency in the system. Okay. So that's running. Again, you'll notice this is clipping up top. That's not real clipping. The signal itself is not. So this is gonna run all the way to the end. Let it run just a second or two extra, whatever you feel comfortable with. You need that tail in the end of the system. And then we grab that track, and I'm going to, I hope to make that window bigger. There we go. So that's audio 2_4. I'm going to grab that, export that clip as a file, making sure my system settings are all the same. And I'm going to dump that on my desktop. So now you'll see I've got both those there. Going back to my convolver. So I have my test tone generator. So it's gonna need to see your test tone, and it's going to need to see the impulse response file you made. So there's my test tone, throw that in, and then let's add the file I got. So those are both there. Now, I did the reverse technique, make sure that's clicked, make sure the bit depth is correct. You can do this batch processing, everything, but this doesn't take much time at all. Actually, it's done. And there you go. I now have my impulse response file ready to go. If you want to look at it, you can. You can just throw it in here. What you'll probably see is a whole lot of nothing other than that impulse response really, really early on. That's the trick. Real easy, and you can turn around stuff pretty quickly. Enjoy it.